Hello guys, my name is Wildkard and welcome back. This is Super Rugby round 4, Chiefs versus Rebels at home at Leichhardt Oval in the suburb of Inner West in Hamilton, next to the airport, the world famous Leichhardt Oval, the home ground of the Chiefs. And this was probably the best, not probably, this is the best performance the Melbourne Rebels put up this season. That was a performance the players can be very proud of. The defense really fronted up. The Chiefs had to work really hard to make their breaks. The defense not perfect, but really fronted up. And the Rebels really played with a lot of grit and determination, and most importantly, resilience in this game. Not quite to the level of the Chiefs, but the Rebels definitely played their best game today. So I was pretty happy to watch that. Some highlights from the Rebels. Naisarani, the number 8, he was everywhere. He was getting the ball, big man, just running at everybody. It was quite good. And also the Rebels number 10, Stevenson, he steps in for Tamura at 10. Not Stevenson. Carter Gordon at number 10. So they pushed Tamura to 12. Carter Gordon also played really well. I thought he was everywhere on the field. He organized the attack. He was able to identify the points of attack for the Rebels, which was really good. He was everywhere in defense. He was ripping the ball out. He was fronting up for tackles, and he was working really hard the entire game. And he played. He was really good at 10 today. Better than I've seen in Tamura this season, in fact. So big thumbs up to Carter Gordon. I think one of the big reasons maybe why the Rebels played well today is because the Wallaby selection is coming up, and Dave Rennie, the head coach, is in attendance. So the Rebels players really did try to put on a show and played to their best games, and a lot of players stepped up this game to make a really entertaining and close matchup against a very skillful, tough, and well-drilled Chiefs team. Anyway, so right from the start, the Chiefs were putting pressure on the Rebels, and there was a big scrum. So the Chiefs' scrums from the beginning seems to be really dominant over the Rebels, and the Rebels scrum hasn't been known to be their strength, but the Rebels did actually manage to stabilize the scrum, and in some instances win the scrum throughout the game. So the Rebels identified that issue and addressed it on the field, basically. So there was a big scrum from the Chiefs, and there was a really nice series to play where Chiefs spread the ball out wide, and then they spread the ball out wide, and then they passed the ball back inside, and there was a decoy runner, and they the inside the ball carrier runs in for a try, and the decoy runner blocks one of the Rebels player. Unlike the play yesterday where we watched the Waratahs, where the decoy runner was in place to block the tackle, but the tackler didn't make an attempt. So the tackler just let him block him, let the decoy runner block him, and didn't even make an attempt to go for a tackle. So that was issued no obstruction, but the Rebels player did make an attempt to go for the Chiefs runner, and then he runs into the decoy, and then that was deemed obstruction, so the try was denied right away for the Chiefs. The Chiefs then went for a maul, and that was quite so that was so them went for a maul, and that was stopped by the Rebels, and there were just a fair bit of small mistakes that really didn't the Rebels really let the Rebels off the hook at the first 5-10 minutes of the game, where the Chiefs probably could have scored a try right away. So then eventually the Chiefs did break the Rebels defense, but it took him about 15 minutes. Okay. So there was a penalty against the Chiefs. The Rebels, against the Rebels. Chiefs keeps the ball out, brings it back in for a maul, and the maul stops. The Chiefs takes the ball out, a quick ball, a crash ball, and then they recognize there was a lot of the Rebels players were squished up to defend this short side, to defend the maul and the crash ball. The Chiefs gets the ball out, nice crossfield kick to their, I think it was might have been their number 15. I think it was their, let me see if I got the name here. Yeah, no. Kicks across the field. I think it was at number 15 that got the ball. And then he runs in. So the Rebels recognize this, actually. They swept around to try to cover this. The number 15 from the Chiefs gets the ball. But Corin Betty overcommitted himself. He did not trust his... So there was one Rebels player outside and Corin Betty was inside. So the outside player had the number 15 covered, the ball receiver. But Corin Betty didn't have enough confidence in him or something. He also ran in to make the tackle, so it was 2-on-1 tackle. And then the ball receiver just recognized this, popped the ball back in, and Trask was on the inside to receive the ball. And Chiefs runs in for their first try. So that was a bit of like communication error for the Rebels that led to the first try for the Chiefs. A few minutes later, the Chiefs looked like they scored again. Chiefs piling on pressure on the Rebels again. They are kind of like 20-25 meters out from the Rebels line. They spread the ball out wide into the sideline. And there was a nice break from the Chiefs number 6. And then he gets his arm free and offloads to his outside to number 11, who just had a nice little open channel by the sideline. He runs into the corner, goes over the line as the Rebels players making the tackle on him. And then the replay showed that his foot was in touch. So that was a very lucky second try denied for the Chiefs within the first 20 minutes. So Chiefs could have been like 3 tries up within 20 minutes, probably more, because they were absolutely dominant over the Rebels, and they were only able to get away with 1 try. However, the Chiefs kept on putting the pressure on. On the 20th minute, Anton Lennon-Brown really stepped up. There was a quick line out for the Chiefs, a 22-minute line out. There was a quick ball. There was a nice hands to the back line. And then there was a little slip pass for the number 12 to an inside angle from Anton Lennon-Brown, and he just punctured through the Rebels defense and goes straight over for a try. Like, Anton Lennon-Brown, too big, too fast, and that angle and with that step, was too hard to stop. So Lennon-Brown goes over for the second try, finally for the Chiefs, at 20 minutes in. So at this point, the Chiefs looks very dominant, and the Rebels are just like under the pump. Literally a few minutes later, Anton Lennon-Brown gets his second try. He's just on fire during this period of play. There was another line out for the Chiefs on the 50-meter mark, so it wasn't even close to the Rebels line. And once again, they spread the ball out wide, and there was spread ball out wide. So to exhaust the entire width of the field, the outside runner runs up, draws the last defender, and then he loops himself back, turns himself back in field, flicks the ball back inside, and Anton Lennon-Brown was there to receive the ball. And he just runs through about 40 meters for his second try. 24 minutes in. And the Chiefs are up 19 points to 0. And at this point, I thought this was going to be just another slaughter fest looking like. Especially with 2 denied tries. There could have been 5 tries to 0 with 20 minutes in. With the 2 denied tries, that was kind of like very, very lucky for the Rebels. So, yeah, this was looking really bad. But the Rebels, good for, really credit has to go for the Rebels. They really stepped up from this point onward. They, especially the forwards, led by the big man himself, Naisarani. He really stepped up. So as we've mentioned that the Rebels were having some issues with the scrums. Chiefs seems to have the more dominant scrum. And then there was Rebels were attacking, and they went just like, silly little mistakes. They were pretty close to like 5 meters out from the try line, and they knocked on the ball. So there was a Chiefs scrum, defensive scrum, 5 meters out in front of their own try line, right? So Chiefs had their own scrum feed 5 meters out, and the Rebels really, really stepped up. The forwards just turned up the heat, absolutely folded the Chiefs scrums, and turned the ball over, and they pushed the Chiefs scrum all the way back into their own try zone. The big man, Naisarani, after all his hard work this game, scoops up the ball, puts the ball down, try time for the Rebels. First try for the Rebels, 27 minutes in. And this was a very, very, very dominant scrum. And like, it's just skill and technique, and just, it's just technique that completely put the Rebels forward and built this try. Like, a defensive scrum turned into a try was just unbelievable. Like a tight head win, and then that tight head win is converted into a try. You really cannot get better than this. Big round of applause to the Chiefs front rowers. They've had issues with their scrums the entire season. The Rebels don't have a very dominant scrums. They were pretty much getting dominated by every team, or not every team, but most teams, even in the Super Rugby AU competition. But that against the Chiefs scrum was just absolutely sublime from the Rebels. They get their first try in, 27 minutes in, finally get themselves on board. However, the Rebels were not done. The Rebels kept on building their pressure, and they really started to get a bit of momentum as well. At this point, they really stopped the Chiefs' momentum and really start building up their own. 5 minutes later, the Rebels were kind of attacking again. They found themselves found themselves out wide in the open field, and the number 10, as like I said, Stevenson, he played really well. He sees the space behind the Chiefs defense. He puts up a nice grabber kick behind, and he runs in and gathers the ball himself. He sprints up, gathers the ball himself, and the Chiefs fullback sweeps up to try to take him out. He looks to his inside. There was one support player, number 13, Eli, was on his inside. Pops ball back in. Easy try. Easy as that. Second try for the Rebels. I mean, Stevenson really probably deserves a spot in from his performance today. Probably deserves a maybe not a starting spot in the Wallabies, but he probably deserves to be, in the squad at least. That was a very, very good performance, both in attack, in defense, in every aspect of the game, except for kicking, because Tamura was kicking. And Tamura had a really shocking game this game as well. He missed a bunch of kicks. His passing was awful. He looked like he had a head injury or something. He had his head heavily bandaged, and he was wearing a headgear. He just looked like he was off. He looked like he just he didn't even know where he was. He looked like he really, really out of place. So Tamura, luckily, he didn't really make that many mistakes, but he was pretty off. Yeah, not a great performance by Tamura in the contrast. So that's the second try for the Rebels. Yeah, Tamura missed his kick, I'm pretty sure. He misses his kick, which was a pretty kickable goal, so he was really off today. However, the Rebels kept on building pressure. Just before halftime, just hard running from Naisarami, the Rebels were able to get a repeated penalty from the Chiefs. So the Chiefs were on the back foot from just Rebels' good hard running, especially Naisarani did really, really well during this period. So there was a few penalties going in. Basically, there might have been a line out before this where the Rebels almost went over, but then it didn't happen. Eventually, the Rebels got really close with another penalty just 5 meters out in front of the Chiefs line, and Rebels just took a tap. Tamura takes a tap and just popped the ball to Naisarani, who's been instrumental getting the Rebels getting this position. Naisarani gets the ball, 5 meters to go, right? The big man just pummels his way through. A couple of players behind him pushing him through, and he crashes over for the Rebels' third try. And Tamura converts this one, so half time, 19 points to 19 for the Rebels and the Chiefs. Very, very good performance by the Rebels. Especially, they showed, a lot of determination to get themselves back into the game after being absolutely dominated for the first 25 minutes, right? Second half starts, the Chiefs really looked like they wanted to step up a bit. So the Rebels kind of came out a little bit slower than the first half. The end of the first half, the Chiefs really picked up the pace a little bit. So there was a center field scrum for the Chiefs. Not pretty far from the center field scrum for the Chiefs. So the Chiefs were about 5, maybe 6 meters out from the try line, just very close to try line. The Chiefs gets the ball. They faked going one direction. So the halfback gets the ball. He faked going to the right hand side, and then he suddenly turns around, passes the ball to the left, and there was just the Rebels, seriously, this is a scrum. So there's nothing too crazy about this move, because you just mark up, right? There's 5 people, 3 people to the left, 4 people to the right. You just mark up. But for some reason, the Rebels were just in disarray. When they saw this, they just almost unexpected. So he throws the ball to the right, and there was a nice little cutout pass to the wing. Tia gets the ball on the wing. He just runs into the corner for the try. And Powell tried to sweep around to try to take him out, but it was, unlike the first half, he was able to keep his leg up, so he didn't touch the sideline when he was getting pushed out. And just like that, easy first try for the Chiefs. Just the scrum, a little switch pass, and cut out to the winger, and there was just space out wide. The Rebels didn't look like the Rebels just didn't mark up appropriately. Maybe they had too many people on one side and they just didn't count the numbers correctly. I am not sure what happened, because that should not have happened. You just have, you just count your numbers. There's, you just say there's 2 people here, 3 people here, 4 people here. Just put the same amount of people on each side of the scrum. And they somehow, on one side, there was an overlap. So yeah, that was really, really poor defense from the Rebels. And the Chiefs quickly recognized that. That's probably why they switched the pass back to the other side, and they just scored a try. Just easy as that. 3 minutes into the second half. The Chiefs were on the move in the second half. They really wanted to. You can see the Chiefs wanted to make a statement and really try to close off the game and try to snuff out the Rebels. About 8 minutes later, the Chiefs gets another opportunity with a Rebels penalty. They go for a line-out. Line-out comes in, a quick ball, and it was this wasn't even a super close to the try line. So this was probably 25 meters out, 30 meters out. They're just quick ball pass, and this is just a really nice set of hands. Bit of just there was a small, I think there was a small break from the Chiefs number 10, and then he kind of offloaded, and then there was a quick pass from the second guy, and Anton Leonard-Brown got the ball in midfield. He draws 2 defenders, another quick pass off from him to Trask, and Trask gets the ball on the wing. He runs in for the second try in the second half of the Chiefs. Again, very easy, very he wasn't even in danger position for the Rebels. Wasn't 5 meters out or something. Just a nice little play from the midfield, and Chiefs gets their second try in the second half. 52 minutes into the game, and then the Rebels finally able to pull themselves together, regather themselves, and puts their first try on the board a few minutes later after this try was scored. So the Rebels, once again, Naisa Rani was instrumental leading up to this try. The Rebels were building up faces, building up and getting kind of inside the Chiefs' half. There was a nice, so this was about 40 meters out from the Chiefs' line. Naisa Rani was at the breakdown. He sees a gap in front of him. He just picks the ball and ran 10, 15 meters. People ran up to him to try to take him down. As he was getting tackled, he pops the ball back in to, I think it was Powell, who got the ball, runs up Powell is free. The fullback sweeps out to take out Powell. He just nice little pass to his side. Callaway was on the wing to receive the ball and runs in for Rebels' 4th try and 1st try in the second half. And suddenly the game is getting close again. The Rebels are now just 1 try behind, right? However, this was just, however, the Chiefs were, really able to just hold on and really from this point forward, the Rebels are just really, really lifted up another intensity. But the Chiefs really did well to hold on. There was a number of times where the Chiefs were just getting hammered, and almost like they were going to score a try, and the Rebels failed to deliver. So there was one time where the Rebels actually crashed it over within the next few minutes, after this try was scored, where they all looked like they scored, and the Chiefs were managed to hold them up. So then it was now turned into a goal line dropout. By the way, this rule is really, really awful, right? If you go over the try line and it gets held up, why do you lose the ball? Like, that is so awful. So it discourages team from going for a try, right? If you go for a try and you get held up, then you lose the ball. You don't get the ball back. That's just so dumb. So dumb. So, the Chiefs gets a dropout, goal line dropout from holding up the Rebels player. So, the Rebels probably could have scored there, but they were able to hold out. And then eventually the Chiefs were able to get themselves out of a bit of a rot and really hold off the Rebels' pressure and managed to build some phases for themselves. And there was eventually Chiefs were managed to get back inside the Rebels half, just around 40 meters out on the Rebels line. Again, not really under that much pressure of the Rebels. The Chiefs identified some space out wide to the right. They did a nice cutout pass to the right, and the Chiefs number 6 was right out wide to receive the cutout. He runs into some defenders, a nice little offload back to the Chiefs number 15, who runs into another defender and another support, and again just good support play. He does a nice little offload again to Tia, who runs in for the 2nd try for himself, and the 6th try for the Chiefs. So just this was 40 meters out, just a little nice support play, nice offloads, another try for the Chiefs. And the Rebels seems to be again, after building pressure for a really nice period of time, seems to just fall off a little bit here. That was pretty disappointing to see another very easy try score by the Chiefs. But good for the Rebels. They did try to strike back for the next, all the way till the end of the game. So this was 64th minute. The try was scored by the Chiefs. And the Rebels really tried to score again back against the Chiefs. On the 70th minute, the Rebels looked like they scored. Okay. So they were building pressure. And it was just the Rebels looking like they're running with a lot of confidence. They spread the ball out wide. And there was a nice little, again, out wide, nice little inside. There was a little 2 dummy runners. They spread the ball out wide. And the ball on the receiver on the outside loops the ball back inside. And the inside runner runs in through a little gap. The Rebels goes over for a try. And however, the video referee had a look. The 2 screen runners kind of blocked one of the Chiefs defender to open up the little gap for the inside runner to go through for the try. And the referee goes, yep, just like the first half, this was a obstruction. No try for the Rebels. Fair enough. Drew Mitchell somehow thinks that obstruction should be removed from the rule books, which I'm gonna say, Drew, what? Are you just encouraging players to be, that just does not make any sense. So Drew Mitchell reckons that if the dummy runner just stays still and don't move, or stays on his line, it should be okay. But it's not. The dummy runner it doesn't matter. He's running into a spot that blocks a defender. It doesn't matter if he's standing still. He's standing still at a spot that is blocking a defender, that is obstructing a defender. That's still obstruction. And Drew Mitchell's argument was that, well, then that way all the defenders would just keep running into the dummy runners to milk penalties. Yeah, it's the dummy runners onerous is on the dummy runner to make sure that they don't block a defender from making a tackle. So if you're a dummy runner, you like after you not receive the ball, you're meant to get out of the way. You're not supposed to just stand in position so that the defense can't get to a tackler to make a tackle. And like it's different from there was another thing where like if you put up like a high ball and the chasers comes in, and if you're a defender, you kind of like what they call, I think, called a lazy runner. You kind of just like run lazily towards the ball and then you block the chaser. That's different because you're technically still playing the ball. You're technically still like chasing the ball, but you just happens to be like have to be running in front of a defender. So you're technically still like playing the ball. Whereas a dummy runner, you're not even playing the ball. You're just standing there in a spot that is obstructing the defense. That definitely has to be a penalty. Like Drew Mitchell, I completely disagree with you there. And yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Like honestly, that just whatever you're saying, I don't think that's right. Don't agree with you. And anyway, so that was the and that try was denied. And man, if that try was scored, then it was game on. The Rebels would have been just one try away from winning the game. But that try was denied, led to basically Rebels has scored twice in 10 minutes still, and just a lot of back and forward for the next bit. The game went into bonus time. I wouldn't say bonus time. I would say overtime. Both teams trying to score a try. The Chiefs tried to score a try for a bonus point win. The Rebels tried to score a try to salvage their efforts for the last 20-25 minutes of to salvage something. So the game went on to about 3 or 4 minutes extra time. Eventually, there was a bit of back and forward. Both teams had penalties given to them to stage themselves in a good attacking spot, and both teams able to squander it. Eventually, the Rebels dropped the ball, and that was the end of the game. Overall, this was a very, very entertaining game. I think the Rebels really did well. Probably because the Wallaby selection coach was watching, maybe. But I do think that this was the best game the Rebels have played. Consistency is really, really important. You'd really, especially if a player wants to make for the Wallabies, you really need to put up consistent, good plays for the Wallaby selection, in my opinion. So if a player that doesn't have consistency, like Matt Tamura, who played really kind of well in the first half of the season and then just really dropped off in the second half of the season. Like this game was kind of off as well for him. And then you have players like Corin Beatty, who's been pretty consistent the whole season. That's someone who should consider. Nasarani, he was injured for the first half of the season, but when he came back, he's been pretty good, pretty consistent. So Nasarani will be a good selection process. The Rebels number 10, I keep calling him Stevenson. I got his name written down wrong here. Rebels number 10, Carter Gordon, has played pretty well today, but he hasn't been playing that many games for the Rebels, so maybe have to see more of him to make a decision whether or not he's worthy to be a Wallabies. But, someone like him definitely has the talent to be there, just have to be consistent. Joe Powell's pretty good. He's pretty consistent. Maybe not as good as Nick White or Tate McDermott. The competition for number 9 spot is pretty tough, so he might miss out. But still, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a spot in the squad. But yeah, the Rebels front rowers did pretty well. Elof has been pretty good at running the ball and pretty consistent throughout the game. And the tight hair win today with the try was pretty good effort from him as well. Caleb Elof has done well, all season. Maybe not a starting spot because the tight hair spot is pretty highly contested in the Wallabies team. But yeah. Anyway, guys, that's the game today, and hopefully you enjoy this video. There's gonna be another video coming up soon for the Springboks selection. They announced the team. I'm looking forward to make that video soon, and I'll see you guys a little bit later today. Thanks for watching. Cheers.